Hi, my name is Tracy and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to the video. I hope you enjoy it. So first off, I just wanted to start off apologizing for not really being that consistent with filming and posting videos on my channel. I know that I have been doing my best to keep up with the monthly sort of nature ritual series that I've been uploading. And that's sort of the series where I read from the Nature Almanac book for you guys to sort of listen along, kind of almost like a little mini podcast, but it's not really a podcast. It's kind of just me reading from a book and talking to you guys, talking towards the camera. So I'm proud of myself that I have been uploading those videos every month. I usually post one video per month, but other than that, content-wise, I'm sorry that I just haven't really been talking to the camera and filming any of my other sort of philosophical discussion type of videos like this one, or just any other type of content in a while. I feel like when I first started my YouTube channel back in March, which I know isn't really that long ago, but it feels long ago to me, I had more of a spark and more of a passion to film a lot of videos every week and post every week consistently. But I guess as the months kind of went on, and we're already almost in October. Today is September 22nd, which is the first official day of fall if you're here in the Northern Hemisphere like I am. So happy first day of fall to those of you in the Northern Hemisphere watching. But we're already almost in October. But anyways, I digress. I'm just kind of saying that as the months went on, I just started becoming more and more busy with my personal life and busy taking care of my family and busy with my job. And that's sort of been a whole other thing that is kind of, so I basically made a very life-changing decision to take a step back from my career and sort of take like a sabbatical, I guess, but I am still working part-time at my company. I was gonna actually post a whole video talking about this, but I guess I'll just kind of come right out and say it now. But it has been a huge transition with me training this other person to sort of fulfill my role as I'm working part-time for them. So it's been a lot. I don't want to get into that right now because I feel like that deserves its own video. But it has been a lot, especially with me taking care of my family members and trying to take care of myself as well, and hanging out with friends and family and my partner and everything. I feel like my YouTube channel has been sort of on the back burner, so I'm sorry about that. And I appreciate anyone who actually watches these videos or any of the YouTube shorts that I post, and anyone who has ever subscribed or is currently subscribed. Thank you so much. I'm glad that my videos or my content have been able to resonate with you. For those of you who have subscribed to me, I'm so grateful for that. Anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna be posting this video, and then I'm gonna be filming my next monthly series for October, which is coming up very, very soon. So hopefully I will get that video done or filmed and posted in early October, aiming for the first week of October. So you'll get a couple more videos from me. But anyways, so today's video is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of an impromptu type of video. I have no script. I'm kind of just speaking from my heart to the camera. Hopefully it resonates with anyone out there who's watching. But today's kind of just gonna be another philosophical discussion type of video where I'm speaking directly to the camera, just saying my thoughts and feelings on a certain topic, and hopefully this resonates with someone out there who's watching. But today's topic is about romance as a genre. And so basically, let me backtrack. So I am very obsessed with fictional men and celebrities. I feel like I've just always been such a nerd and a fangirl throughout my whole life. Like ever since I started developing crushes, like I have always had crushes on just fictional characters, whether it's an animated fictional character, like a cartoon character, or a live action fictional character, and like the celebrities that portray them. But I've always been like a nerdy fangirl type of person. But I've noticed that throughout my life, I've always tend to gravitate towards a certain aesthetic of fictional characters, or like a certain vibe that they all kind of give off. And so basically, as you guys have already known, I am a huge Star Wars fan. I am obsessed with the Star Wars prequels specifically. I mean, I love all the movies. I love the originals too. But I am completely obsessed with the Star Wars prequels. Excuse me. And my favorite character from the Star Wars franchise as a whole is Anakin Skywalker, who is played by Hayden Christensen, which for those of you who have been keeping up with my videos, you've known that I actually did meet Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor, who plays Obi-Wan Kenobi in the prequels. I met them both at Fan Expo Boston, actually last month in August, which was just such a mind-blowing experience. And I actually made a whole video on it, obviously talking about my experience meeting these guys. So yeah, if you're curious about my experience meeting Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor, go watch my other video on my channel where I just talk all about that experience. So I'm not going to dive too deep into that in today's video. But yeah, I am obsessed with the character Anakin Skywalker. And recently I have been obsessing over two other fictional characters. The first fictional character is Superman, but specifically from the newest Superman that just dropped in theaters in July 2025, so a couple months ago, or this summer. And yeah, so I'm obsessed with the Superman version played by David Corenswet. I think that's his name. I love David as well. I think he's so charismatic and funny, and he's a very good-looking guy, obviously. And what's kind of funny is that he's also a huge Star Wars fan as well. Like, he has consistently talked about his love of Star Wars in like pretty much all of his interviews and stuff for the Superman movie, and just like in general, he has voiced out loud how much of a big Star Wars fan he is. So I think that's very fitting that, of course, I have like the biggest crush on his portrayal of Superman, his version of Superman, but the actor himself is also a huge Star Wars fan. So I think that's kind of a cool sort of connection. But yeah, I've never really liked Superman as a character. I have always been more of a Marvel person, a Marvel fan than a DC fan. I don't know, I just never really liked or resonated with any of the DC movies that much until I saw this new version of Superman directed by James Gunn that was released back in July of this year. Just kind of seeing David's portrayal of Superman was just so good. Like, it actually made me a fan of DC and just a fan of the character Superman in general. I feel like that movie was so perfect. It was executed just so flawlessly, and I highly recommend it for anyone who is a Marvel fan like I am and wants to kind of dip their toes into the DC universe, but you don't really know which movie to start with. I definitely recommend starting with that movie, the newest Superman movie, just because I think it did have similar vibes to like Marvel movies because it was directed by James Gunn, who I think directed all of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and stuff. So anyways, I'm going off on another tangent already, and I'm so sorry about that. The topic of this video is about romance. but I kind of just wanted to provide some context. So yeah, I'm obsessed with Anakin Skywalker, played by Hayden Christensen, Superman, specifically played by David Corenswet in the newest movie. And the third character that I recently am or have been obsessing over is Cole Walter from the show My Life with the Walter Boys on Netflix. Okay, I normally, like, I'm always, like, super embarrassed to admit that I am a total sucker for, like, romance as a genre, like, whether it's books or TV shows or movies. I tend to sort of go the nerdy route whenever people ask me what my favorite movies are. Like, I tend to always say, like, oh, Star Wars, or, like, I like Marvel, like, I like superhero movies, I like, you know, sci-fi movies, I like, you know, psychological thriller movies like Black Swan and things like that. Like, I've always been more vocal about my nerdy interests than my interests in the whole romance genre, just because I've always been, like, embarrassed. Like, it's such a guilty pleasure of mine. Like, my most guilty pleasure shows that I absolutely love watching, that I never talk about with people in my life as much, or, like, people that I, you know, just meet and stuff as much, are Outer Banks, which is another Netflix original, The Summer I Turned Pretty, which is on Amazon Prime, and last but not least, and my recent obsession, is My Life with the Walter Boys, another Netflix original. So yeah, I don't know, I just feel like I've always just been embarrassed. And also in the spirit, or whatever, in the spirit of the first day of fall, I recently had found another obsession over romance genre of books. So I know this kind of makes me so basic, but, well, not that being basic is bad. It's still good either way. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you like. That shouldn't matter. That's kind of the gist of this video. But these books, I know they're backwards on camera, sadly, so I'll just read the titles out loud. So the first book that I'm currently reading right now for fall is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. Absolutely obsessed. And then the second book in the series that I haven't gotten to yet, but I hope I will still be able to get to towards later on in the season, is called The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, also by Laurie Gilmore. Like, both of these covers are so pretty. Like, one's a coffee shop and one's a bookstore. Like, that's like my aesthetic. Like, that's my vibe. I love coffee shops and bookstores. I'm obsessed with going to the library, or I'm obsessed with going to Barnes & Noble and getting, like, a little Starbucks coffee drink and sitting in the cafe and, like, people watching and looking out the window, or, like, reading my book, or, like, writing in my journal. Just, like, I love all of that coziness so much. And these books are, like, peak cozy vibes, especially in the fall time. So anyways, yeah, I'm not embarrassed to say that I recently started, you know, becoming an advocate of romance as a genre, and whether that's in books or TV shows or movies or whatever, I just love romance so much. But I'm kind of niche when it comes to romance as a genre. Like, I don't just gravitate towards, like, any romance book. Like, I never really gravitated towards, like, the Colleen Hoover type of romance books or anything like that. I just always thought they were a little too dark for me, but I kind of have a thing for, like, you know, a woman who was from the city and decides to move to a small town and has, like, a small town romance, like the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, or a guy from the city decides to move to a small town and has a small town romance with a woman who lives there. I don't know. I feel like I just love small town Hallmark romance vibes. So yeah, that's sort of the genre that I tend to lean towards, are the hallmarky, cheesy, cozy, small town romance vibes, especially bonus points if it's like the woman that moves to a small town from like the big city and she's like trying to escape her big city corporate girl life and decides to give all that up to, you know, live in a small, quaint, cozy town and finds love there, or if it's the opposite where that is sort of the guy and he ends up moving to a small town from the city and ends up falling for a girl who works at like a coffee shop or whatever, like a bookstore, whatever, you know what I mean? Like that type of stuff I will eat up. I'm a sucker for. But anyways, I've been rambling a lot and I keep stuttering because I have been rambling too much and too quickly. So I apologize for that. I feel like these types of talking videos are completely all over the place because I have no script that I'm reading from. I am just completely speaking from my mind and my heart. So sorry that I keep stuttering as I just did now. So anyways, so I guess the reason why I'm filming this video isn't just to share my love or my recent newfound love of romance as a genre, but I guess I kind of wanted to share a sentiment with you all about how modern society, especially modern feminism, tends to downplay romance and, you know, in the name of the whole independent girl boss type of mentality. Again, obviously I am a feminist and I just want to preface that. I know that I have done a lot of critique videos on modern feminism, including, you know, this one kind of, but I am sort of trying to push more of an inclusive modern feminism, like kind of like how it used to be back then when we were all just sort of fighting for the same rights as men in society. But now that we do have, you know, almost the same amount of rights, I feel like modern feminism nowadays is just so shameful towards women, and I don't want to stand by that. I feel like, you know, I want to make my channel as inclusive as possible so that, you know, both women and of all different walks of life and men and the queer community and whatever, like just whatever, you know, ethnic group, minority group, or underrepresented group that you belong in, I just want my channel to feel as inclusive and welcoming as possible. So even though I make a lot of content, you know, centered around critiquing the modern feminism movement, I'm not saying that I'm not a feminist, because I am, but I just want to shine a light on how modern feminism has been slightly toxic towards certain things or certain groups of women. And I just think that feminism as a whole, as a movement, should be more inclusive, you know, towards all women, you know, towards anyone who identifies as a woman, towards anyone who may not choose to be an independent girl boss, baddie, whatever. Like, you know, even if you're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home wife and you sort of live off of your husband's income, that's completely okay. Like, there should not be anything wrong with that. And I think feminism should be celebrating women of all walks of life. And I feel like we're missing that sisterhood, because I feel like there's just been a lot of hate from one group of women towards another group of women. And I made a whole video on this topic, by the way, also on my channel. So feel free to watch that video for more context into what I'm saying here. But I guess my point in making this video is, I just feel like modern feminism tends to downplay sort of women who gravitate towards wanting to be with a provider man, or, you know, having romantic feelings towards provider men, like or just having romantic feelings towards men in general. Like, it doesn't matter if he's a provider or not. Like, just kind of, I feel like, you know, modern feminism is really sort of pushing women to, you know, want to just be single spinsters or whatever. And obviously that's totally fine too. If you want to be single for the rest of your life, that's totally fine. That's actually really cool. Like, I'm not saying that, like, you know, single women shouldn't be celebrated either. I honestly think all women from all walks of life with all lifestyles should be celebrated in modern feminism. And I guess my goal in this video is to make feminism as accessible and as welcoming to all groups of people as possible. And that kind of starts by critiquing certain things in the movement that doesn't work, or critiquing certain behaviors from certain types of people that don't work, that just makes this movement as a whole very, I don't know, just unwelcoming and, you know, not very delightful to be a part of, I guess. I feel like there is just a lot of political outrage right now more than ever in the United States, and I don't want my YouTube channel or my videos to be a part of that political outrage. I'm just simply, you know, filming this from the heart and speaking on things that I see wrong. And, you know, I hope that, you know, this video can kind of relate to anyone out there who especially claims to be a feminist. I hope that you watch this video and you can find it to be resonating with you in any shape or form or any certain aspect. But yeah, I feel like, you know, throughout my whole life, I was raised by a hyper independent mother. You know, I'm close to the women in my family more than the men in my family. But I wouldn't say that I'm that close with my mom. Like, I'm more closer with her than my dad, obviously, because my dad's like super awkward and he's always been kind of like a distant dad. But I feel like my mom and I don't really have the best relationship because we value different things, and I would never want my kids, especially like if I have a daughter, to ever feel adrift between my relationship with her like I have been feeling with my mom. You know, my mom is just super, super hyper independent, and she was always the one that was honing in my brain, don't ever depend on a man, like, don't ever fall in love with a man so hard that you lose yourself, like, you know, you always have to have your guard up and have your wall up, and don't let yourself go, like, you know, always be careful, be cautious when dating, like, you never know when a guy will leave you in an instant or will cheat on you or divorce you or whatever, all of the above. And I appreciate her sentiment. I know she means well, but she does echo a lot of things that I do see in the modern feminism movement in terms of, you know, sort of shaming women to have to fall into this mentality of hyper independence and, you know, not wanting to fall in love, especially with a man who is respectful and is a provider type of man who treats you well and can take care of you and sort of do things for you. So I know that this video seems like a mess right now because I've just been rambling on and on about different things that don't seem to connect that much, like with my nerdy interests in movies and shows in the beginning, and the romance genre, and now modern feminism. So how does these three things connect, right? Which is what you're probably thinking if you're already this far into the video. And don't worry, you're not crazy. It's because I don't have a script. I'm just rambling. So that's why this video probably doesn't make any sense at all if you've gone this far. But let me just try to connect those three topics all together. now. But basically, I feel like, you know, in the romance genre, love triangles have been really big. And, you know, in a love triangle, like in the show The Summer I Turned Pretty, or in the show My Life with the Walter Boys, there's always like two different guys that are like very different, like just personality wise very different from one another, despite both looking good. Like they're both good looking men that fight over the same male, or sorry that fight over the same main female character. I feel like I just accidentally said the wrong thing, so sorry about that. But they're like drastically different in personality. And basically, so I don't think I've said this before, but if you've watched The Summer I Turned Pretty, I'm team Conrad, which is so shocking for me to say because I have always been team Jeremiah for like the first 2 seasons. Just because I think that, you know, a man should be respectful towards his partner, and I just don't, like, personally, like, I don't like fuckboys. I despise fuckboys or frat boys or whatever. Like, I like, you know, the provider type of guys, but I don't want them to be like fuckboys and, you know, just say sweet things that I want to hear, or like do nice things here and there, but then like cheat on me or flirt with other girls or look at other girls behind my back or like other girls' social media pictures, stuff like that. Like I feel like is a no-go for me. So, you know, whenever I see these love triangles play out in, you know, these types of TV shows and movies and stuff, I'm always rooting for the guy that actually treats the main female character the best out of, you know, the 2 men that are fighting over her. But surprisingly enough, in the 3rd season, I feel like Conrad really had like a turnaround. Like he was such a provider type of guy, and not like in terms of financially providing for her, but whenever I say provider, I don't mean like a guy who's like paying for everything or a guy who is like financially taking care of you. Like obviously that can be a part of it, but whenever I say provider type of person, I mean that person shows you that they care about you through actions and not just words. A person who is action oriented. That's what I mean when I say provider type or provider mentality, you know? Even in a same-sex couple, you know, there tends to be like the yin and yang, like the person who does acts of service to show that they care, or like the person who is sort of on the receiving end of that, and they can, you know, do it back too, but you know, they're sort of you know, more in their like feminine energy, and there's like the masculine energy, and like, you know, there's like, I feel like, you know, there's a lot of metaphors like the black cat energy and the golden retriever energy in like relationships. So you can kind of apply this to like anything, like even if you're in like a same-sex coupling or relationship, like it's not just like, oh, like you have to be a masculine man or a feminine woman, like, you know, like I'm not saying that, but there's like an energetic type of giver and receiver in relationships. And you know, for me as a straight cis woman, that's how I identify. I do tend to go for or fall in love with the provider type of men, like the guys who have leadership qualities, who take action. They're very action oriented, and they prove to me that they care about me, not through their words, but through their actions, through what they literally do to make my life better in any shape or form. And so I feel like throughout the 3rd season of The Summer I Turned Pretty, like they made Jeremiah's character so much worse than how he was in the first 2 seasons. I mean, I guess you can kind of see little like red flags here and there, but it wasn't like anything that bad. Like I was really rooting for Jeremiah, to be with Belly, but in the end, I was very, very much Team Conrad because I feel like they made Jeremiah like such a man-child. Like he was so whiny and stuff. No shade to the actors. Obviously, like these are just specifically, like I'm just talking about the characters and how they're written. Like I'm not trying to shit on like the actors or anything like that. Like I have no hate in my heart for anyone, especially actors, because they're just doing their jobs. So if I'm sort of bad mouthing a specific character that you like, I'm sorry. But also, I hope you know that I'm not bad mouthing the actor who's portraying them. It's just specifically how the character was written. And I personally felt like they wrote, the author slash the show kind of wrote Jeremiah to be very like whiny. Just, he was such a man-child the whole time. And I don't know, it just made his character so unattractive. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Conrad was always there and he was just the strong presence. He was like her anchor, her rock, her safety net, and he showed that he cared for her through his actions. He was kind of like the strong and silent type, which I thought was very attractive. You know, he never boasted about what he did for her. He just did it behind her back or without her knowing, and because he loved her and he just wanted her to be happy, and you know, even if it meant not being with him in the end, but he loved her enough to be okay with that as long as she was happy, you know, whether it was with him or with his brother. So anyways, so that's my take on The Summer I Turned Pretty. So for the other show that I mentioned, My Life with the Walter Boys, I am Team Cole. I know you're not surprised. If you've seen both shows, you might not be surprised that I am Team Cole after just saying that I'm Team Conrad. So Cole Walter, like, I don't know, at first I didn't want him to be with the main character, Jackie. I just feel like she was such a kind, sweet, smart, hardworking character, and I honestly think I like her more than Belly, if I'm being honest. I feel like Belly was kind of a mess. She was kind of all over the place, but I really like Jackie in the My Life with the Walter Boys show. I think Jackie's character was a bit more relatable to me because I'm a Virgo, so I feel like I'm very much like disciplined like Jackie is. And girl, Cole Walter is so hot. Like, you kind of need to have discipline to not completely just fall in love with him like right away. Like when he looks at you with those eyes and he flashes that smile, like I think he's more good looking than Conrad in my opinion. Like Conrad's cute, but there's just something about Cole Walter that just like, he's like my newest obsession, I swear to God. Anyways, but yeah, at first like Cole Walter, like, so basically Jackie is in a love triangle with Cole and his younger brother Alex. You know, very, very similar vibes to The Summer I Turned Pretty. But yeah, I think my thoughts on The Summer I Turned Pretty is very similar to My Life with the Walter Boys. I also think Alex was not really great for Jackie. I think he was a little too like whiny. I don't know, like, and I feel bad for saying that because I love the actors that portray these characters. Like the actors are so amazing. Like the actor, I think his name is Ashby. Like I think he's so great, and he's like, I've seen a lot of interviews with the cast of My Life with the Walter Boys, and they're just all so great in real life. They're amazing people. But I do feel like Alex as a character was like a bit whiny. I mean, I'm hoping that Ashby doesn't watch my video because I feel like he has a tendency to respond or reply to fans a lot, which is so cool of him to do, by the way, but I don't want him to respond to me in this video because I know I'm kind of like bad-mouthing his character a little bit, so sorry, Ashby. No hate to Alex. I do think I prefer Alex over Jeremiah any day. No offense to Jeremiah. But if I had to choose between Alex and Cole, obviously I'm Team Cole. But anyways, my reasoning for being Team Cole is very similar to me, the reason why I'm Team Conrad in the other show. Like, I just feel like Cole, like, he really had like a character redemption in the second season, and even like throughout the first season too. Like he always kind of showed through his actions that he cared for Jackie, and you know, by the end of season 2, spoiler alert, he admits to her his feelings and he tells her that he loves her, and he's kind of like, you know, throughout the the end of season 1 and throughout the entirety of season 2, it was just mostly him like yearning for her. And that's just another thing that I think is so attractive in regards to both Conrad and Cole, is that they both yearn for these girls. And like, oh my god, the eyes, I swear, I feel like the eyes just really speak when words don't. I just feel like the chemistry is all in the eyes. Like, I don't care how many times they show a makeout session or scene, or, you know, an R-rated scene of intimacy. I personally think it's a lot more attractive when there is yearning and like eye contact, and just like all of that is just so much more intimate on such a deeper level, without characters or humans needing to like take their clothes off and be naked and like, you know, do the deed. Like I feel like all of that is so unnecessary when you can really perfectly capture the romantic feeling of yearning and longing for someone. And whether it's an unrequited love, whether it's just a forbidden type of love, like a Romeo and Juliet type of thing, like it doesn't matter. I love when shows and movies and just like the romance genre can capture that essence of falling in love and yearning for that person, especially when you don't have them yet. And I really think that they captured that really well with Conrad and Cole. But Cole was just yearning for Jackie throughout, you know, the end of season 1 and throughout the entirety of season 2, like as I've mentioned. And he is also a very action-oriented person. Like he shows consistently, he shows up for Jackie, and he shows her through his actions that he cares about her, as I've mentioned before. So I just feel like him and Conrad are very both similar in that aspect. And I know that Cole, you know, had his fuckboy tendencies during the beginning of season 1, but I really just don't think Alex had like that leadership quality to him. I feel like he was always in constant competition with Cole, because he was always kind of secretly jealous of Cole. So I feel like he kind of treated Jackie as if she was like his trophy, like his prize from Cole. Like I just feel like Cole had more of a natural connection and natural feelings towards Jackie without needing to prove anything to himself or to Alex or to anyone. He just really did love her for who she was, and I just thought that was so beautiful. Their slow burn romance. That's another thing. I just love slow burn romances. So that's why I'm like a sucker for these types of shows. But anyways, now tying that to the whole Star Wars Superman franchises. So as you can see, as I mentioned before, I've always consistently had a thing for a certain type of guy, and that's, you know, the actions oriented type of guy, the provider mentality type of guy. You know, like it doesn't have to be like financially providing, although that's a huge bonus, but just in general, like in terms of like emotionally being grounded and stable, you know, as a man, and being that safe space that a woman can kind of lean on for support, and just being so action oriented and just doing things to make her life easier, or just doing things for the sake of her being happy, you know, and not needing to boast about it. And I just feel like, you know, Anakin Skywalker, he loved Padme in the Star Wars prequels. He had loved her for, I don't know, like however long, until they actually got together in the second movie when they got married and everything. And also, if you watch the Clone Wars animated TV show as well, it kind of showed their relationship throughout like the Clone Wars era, like the prequels era. But I just think like the character Anakin Skywalker, he's so masculine. He's so like he really does have this leadership quality to him. And I think that's also the reason why Padme fell for him, because Padme is such, you know, an independent, badass type of person. Like she's this powerful, influential politician. And she's so smart. Natalie Portman is very, very intelligent as a person. She went to Harvard, and, you know, she loves reading, and so she's very, very smart. But her character Padme was also very intelligent just like her. So I think that was very fitting. But anyways, Padme didn't need Anakin at the end of the day. Like, she was perfectly fine being single or being on her own, or she probably had like a long list of men to choose from, but she chose Anakin because he had this sort of masculine energy to him, this like, I will prove to you that I love you type of mentality. And you know, I think that's just how or why she fell in love with him. And he did consistently love her throughout the movies and the Clone Wars TV show, and I think that was awesome. And same with Superman. Like, Superman's love for Lois Lane, I liked that he allowed her to be her own person. Like, she was also this badass character, and she was this like, you know, journalist who's really good at her job, but she also like came to rescue him when he needed her. Like, it was just, she's very badass. Like, I liked their portrayal of Lois Lane. Like, she wasn't a damsel in distress, but like, Superman was also a very strong masculine figure who had his life together. He knew himself, he stood firm in his values, and he was just he had that leadership quality to him as well. And I think, you know, there's this sort of synergy between Lois Lane and Superman or Clark Kent. They're both so good at what they do, and they come together because they admire one another for being so good at what they do, you know, and sort of being their own people, their own person. And obviously I've already explained my reasoning for Conrad and Cole, Walter. Like, I think all these 4 characters that I love, that I kind of obsess over, obviously it's a bonus that they're all equally very good looking in their own way, but I think it's just more, it has more to do with them being these types of competent, masculine type of men that, you know, that really shows up for the people that they're in love with. And I think that's a very admirable quality that deserve to be celebrated and to shed light on. And sort of now tying that back to the whole modern feminism critique, and I apologize because I know this video is getting really long, is I think modern feminism tends to really look down on these types of male characters because, you know, you're not supposed to like these overly toxic masculine dudes. Like, you're supposed to just ignore them or carry on with your life because you're an independent corporate girl, boss, baddie, whatever acronyms or adjectives you want to use. But I don't know. I think if you love romance as a genre, if you are really into these types of love triangles and you're into the Hallmark romance type of movies and shows and books and things like that, good for you. Like, embrace it. You don't have to hide it in the name of being a feminist. And I think modern feminism should stop shaming women for wanting to like these types of provider men or, you know, masculine men. It doesn't mean these men are toxic. I mean, I guess some of them can be if they're degrading towards their partners, but in most cases, they're not degrading towards their partners. They just want to prove to them how much they love them through actions. And I think modern feminism tends to prioritize people proving through words, like words of affirmation and things like that, but they look down on men who want to prove through acts of service, you know, their love, because a lot of like feminists or like modern feminism really hones this idea of like, oh, you don't need to open the car door for me. I can do that myself. Like, you don't need to open that door for me to walk through. Like, I can do that myself. Or like, you don't need to pay for my dinner. Are you kidding me? Let's just split the bill. I can do it myself. I can afford everything myself. Like, you don't need to pay for me. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like I just feel like, you know, why is it so bad to accept that someone else wants to do something nice for you for once? Like, if you have this picture or this frame that you want to get hung up on the wall and your boyfriend or your husband wants to do it for you because he loves you, just let him. You don't have to be like, no, I can do it myself. Like, no, ew. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's sort of the reason why chivalry is so dead nowadays, because like guys are kind of scared to be looked down on by these types of women. And also like women who like these types of guys get a lot of hate from these other types of feminists, because it just like there's like a weird rivalry between certain groups of women within feminism. Like there's like the I don't know, the cottage core, like stay at home trad wives. That's the word I was looking for. Trad wives that hate on the hyper independent feminist women, and then the hyper independent feminist women hate on the trad wives, and there's just so much hatred going on. I just feel like, why can't we all just support each other and be okay with whatever interests we all like? Because I think there's beauty in celebrating individualism. You know, we can all like certain things that are different from one another, or have a preference for certain things that are different from one another, but that doesn't make you more of a feminist than me, because I want to actually celebrate and be inclusive towards everyone, excuse me, instead of shaming certain groups of people. Like, I would never shame anyone for anything. I feel like people have the right to live however they want to live. People have the right to love and like whatever they want to like. Like, people have the right to date whoever they want to date, or have a certain type or preference that they have. Like, it doesn't matter, as long as they're not hurting themselves, as long as they're not hurting other people around them. Like, it shouldn't matter at the end of the day. And I guess that's sort of the whole point of this video, the gist of this video, is I just kind of wanted to critique sort of this whole hyper independence that modern feminism tries to push onto women, and sort of the shaming that a lot of women feel, or the shame that a lot of women feel when they decide that, like, oh, you know, maybe I don't want to be that independent. Maybe it's okay that I accept help from another human being every once in a while. Like, it's okay if I just sit back and relax and receive. And if my husband or my boyfriend or whatever, my partner wants to do something nice for me, like, I'll let them. You know, that should all be okay. And it's okay that we have crushes on these types of fictional characters because they're masculine, and it doesn't mean that they're toxic just because they're masculine. Like, guys can be masculine but still be very respectful towards women, and that's what these characters are. Like, it doesn't, you know, just because they're masculine, in terms of them having leadership qualities and they're very like action oriented, that doesn't mean that they're inherently toxic and objectify women any chance they get, or don't respect women, or don't treat women well, and things like that. So I don't know, I'm gonna end the video here because I do think that I have been rambling a lot. But yeah, I know this video was probably super confusing because it kind of felt all over the place with my rambling and you know, me talking so much about different subjects or different topics. But I'm hoping that, you know, as you've watched through the entirety of this video, certain things kind of clicked for you, or maybe resonated with you, as I attempted to provide background context and try to tie all of these vastly different subjects together to commingle all of these different topics that I mentioned. So yeah, anyways, I hope that any of you out there watching, especially if you are a feminist, do relate to this video or the content that I make on my channel. And yeah, I don't want it to seem like I'm spreading hate. I'm not. I just want there to be more inclusivity in any type of, you know, civil rights movement, or just especially feminism. I think feminism really should be more inclusive, because I personally feel like it's only shedding the spotlight on cis, straight, Caucasian women and their achievements, but it doesn't really shed light on women of color, on queer women of color, or just, you know, women who are stay-at-home wives, stay-at-home moms that choose to not, you know, go to work and make their own income, like choose to live off of their husband's income. Like, all of that should should be celebrated and should be okay within feminism. And I just wish we could, you know, get back to the roots of feminism, which was to just, you know, feel like we all belong and feel welcomed. So that's kind of the reason why I make these videos, to sort of shed a light on, you know, certain aspects of modern society that I don't agree with, or modern feminism that I don't agree with. And I hope that doesn't come off as me hating on anyone or anything, because I'm not. But yeah, I know I'm kind of just, you know, rambling on about the same things here, but yeah, I really do hope that you enjoyed watching, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, whether you're watching in the morning, noon, afternoon, evening, or nighttime. And also, again, happy first official day of fall for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere. Or I guess today I'm filming is the first day of fall, so you'll probably see this when it's already after the first day of fall. But happy fall in general. I'm so excited for all the cozy vibes this season, and sort of just the holidays in general. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.